Since I referenced it so much last video and it's extremely important to me, I figured I might as well go ahead and make a video on my quote unquote philosophy and kind of how I view the world. And so I had ChatGPT kind of sum it up. I'd like to say all of these ideas are my own, and for the most part, what I've seen with AI is that, especially ChatGPT, it's trained to make you want to like it. And it can't really do synthesis unless you really get around some of the prompts and kind of convince it to be a free thinker, quote unquote. Um, Anyways, I got to write a summary for me, so hopefully going over it will pretty much like explain it. And so, I like the title, Navigating Reality, a Guide to Understanding Truth, Freedom, and Meaning. And so the first thing to understand there is reality itself. It's emergent and dynamic. So that means uh, it's not one static thing. Like reality isn't necessarily like it is this way, this or that. It's kind of unfolding, and it unfolds from interactions and relationships and the kind of self-perception, especially, or the self-perception that mostly people have. Like, there isn't an isolated incident, and there's no, like, mind that exists only within itself. It exists based on what you see. So, that kind of comes into what I believe in, which is compatibilism. I believe in God, but I also believe in the natural, like, order of the universe. So, like, the causes, like, structures and laws of the universe, basically all of the concrete things that most people would define as reality, are determined. They were intelligently designed, and they're like that way for a reason. Like, there's almost a sort of bounds to life that reality can exist in, but our freedom, our free will, and our consciousness, our ability to make choices and change that reality exists within those bounds. Like, our choices have meaning and they do matter because it's what we choose to do with those rules that have been set that is our free will. It's not like we're the sole arbiters of reality. I mean, some people are, at least like true delusional schizophrenic people, but then you get into the idea that their reality is different than everybody else's, and in my opinion at least, the closest idea to truth would be the largest shared reality that makes logical sense to everyone and benefits those in it, if you will. So then that's kind of where the next point, that truth is practical and experiential, which it calls pragmatism. Like, the truth isn't just abstract, which kind of goes against what I was saying. Like, if it works for that delusional schizo, then maybe it's practical to them, but it's not practical to society and reality, or our shared reality as a whole, which is where, like, pragmatism, I'm terrible at pronouncing things, but you need to have knowledge, or what you believe to be truth, and then you need to interact with the world and quote unquote prove that truth through experience. And then that means we find genuine meaning in those actions, in that truth, and within our choices when our perceived truth proves itself within our reality or within our shared reality. And then, therefore, meaning is not given but created through us being genuine in our choices and our, like, consciousness, and then what we choose to do with that, our actions. You need to understand that based off of this, your reality is your own construct, and our shared reality is the amalgamation of all our individual self-shaping realities and consciousness. Therefore, by taking personal responsibility for it, yes, kind of sucks sometimes because the world's a shitty place, but you can find meaning in taking personal responsibility for that and trying to change it for the better for yourself and for other people. And so it mentions archetypes and symbolism, Carl Jung and Gnosticism. I fully believe in those. I'm not sure it's necessarily foundational to what I'm saying, but we have, as it says, deep symbolic structures or archetypes that guide our conscious perception and our behaviors, or they exist in the subconscious, which guides our conscious to do these things. And that's like, I can't. I'm bad at explaining the symbols themselves, but like, say for example, when you go to a different town, especially if you were a kid and you moved towns, you kind of found the same people in your new town. Like there were symbolic equivalents between the personalities you encountered in both places. That's kind of what an archetype is. Or like the jester that always exists, the jester slash the trickster, the king, etc. I can't remember most of them off the top of my head, but anyways, these subconscious archetypes exist, and a huge part of defining reality and then changing reality using your free will for that is digging deep inside yourself, as above so below, going and looking within yourself to understand the subconscious archetypes that you have and recognize the patterns within those, so that in your conscious mind you can think about your own thinking and then use that to your advantage, analyze yourself in perhaps the objective third person, so that from there you can start to shape your own reality again by recognizing higher archetypes within that, or choosing to act based on what those archetypes are, what they might be telling you. And so this one was kind of my own introduction to it, my final interpretation of it, which is embrace liminality. I love liminal spaces. I love, like, if you remember, like, the surreal / liminal memes from, like, late 2019 or early 2019, maybe late 2018. Basically, like, when memes, if you will, had, like, a collapse in their reality and meaning, and people just started making things that resonated with people. That, in my opinion, was liminality. Here, it says it best. Reality often exists between clear definitions. This liminal space is full of potential. Embracing uncertainty and ambiguity leads to growth, creativity, and deeper understanding. So that's like, when you don't know what's going on, you have the most potential to figure out what's going on. And that's just kind of the idea of learning. You have, most of the time when you learn, it's because you were wrong and you were corrected. You can just gain new knowledge off top, but most of our learning is self-correction, at least in my experience and from what I've seen with those around me. We tend to know and think a lot more about the world, but that doesn't, than we think we do, but we also, because we do and think a lot more about the world than we consciously understand, we tend to misunderstand it. And that's part of, like, the Dunning-Kruger curve. We think we know what's going on, when in reality none of us know shit. Even the most enlightened people, I believe that enlightenment that they have is knowing that they don't know what's going on and simply giving into the flow of the universe to understand it within the way that they think is right. And it usually falls along the same lines of understanding that they don't know and they're just doing the best they can. So, we have some key takeaways, and this kind of hopefully sums it up. Stay open to learning and adapting your beliefs. Engage sincerely and authentically with yourself and others. That's the as above, so below. Recognize that there is both choice and structure. or there's both structure and freedom in your choices. So, yes, you could argue for pure determinism, but that liminal conscious reality that you exist in right now is where you have the choice to do something, to think differently or act differently, behave differently, etc. There are hard limits to the universe, knowledge, and understanding, but that doesn't mean you are at those hard limits. You can still navigate between them. Explore the deeper symbolic meanings behind your experiences. This is basically telling you to analyze the own archetypes within your mind and the patterns through which you structure your own reality and understand it. And then embrace ambiguity as an opportunity for growth. I guess I've already said a few times now. Understand that the best learning happens when you don't understand. The journey to truth and meaning is ongoing and shared. Navigate it with openness, authenticity, and curiosity. So, maintain that. Understand that you don't know and I don't know. This is just my guide for figuring out how to know. And I don't know, when I kind of fully integrated these ideas and kind of understood, like, I've had these thoughts for a long time, but I never really pieced them all together. As soon as I got there, I got a sign that that's it, and so I thought I'd share it with the rest of you guys because it makes sense to me. It allows me to feel somewhat confident in the knowledge that I know is true through my lived experience, but also understanding that the other side of me that understands the Dunning-Kruger effect and my own limits of knowledge is that I can be open to learning within that, and it's not wrong. It's better to be proven wrong and accept it than to be proven wrong and just, live with the cognitive dissonance of not understanding and not trying to, which is what I want to avoid. I want to know the truth, and I want to be a good person, and you can only do that by maintaining an open mind, being humble, and doing the right thing when you know you can. So, thank you guys. If you're watching, please leave a comment letting me know what you think. I would love to adapt this model if it's lacking anywhere, and I would love to change your mind if I can, because I like having my mind changed. It means I grew.